Can I go over to Laura? Could you read the webcasting introduction, please?
I would like to remind everyone that this meeting will be filmed live or recorded and uploaded to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. Therefore, by participating in this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings. If any public speakers on MS Teams do not wish to have their image captured, they should ensure that their video setting throughout the meeting is turned off and set to audio only. Members and public speakers are reminded to turn on their microphones before speaking and, of course, turn them off when they've finished. Thank you. Sorry, Chairman. We've received several apologies for absence. We've had apologies from Councillor Bassett, Rackham and Lucas. There are two substitute members. We have Councillor Charles Holden for Councillor Bassett, who isn't yet in the chamber, Chairman, and who's arrived in the chamber, Chairman, and Councillor Rackham for Councillor Cohen for Councillor Rackham.
Sorry, Chairman, I didn't catch who the substitute was for Councillor Bassett.
Councillor Charles Holden, who's just in front of you, Councillor Murray.
Chairman, no one can hear what you're saying on Teams.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, well, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? I think no. And then we go to item 5, which is the minutes, which are on page 5 to 8. Just the committee, can we confirm the minutes from the 10th of June 2025 from this year? Can we confirm the minutes? Yeah, confirmed? Yeah, thank you. Then we go to item 6, which is matters arising and outstanding actions. At the last full council, the chairman of the council, Councillor Mead, informed members of the sad news that Wyn Marshall had passed away. There were many tributes paid to Wyn at the meeting, but it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge the role he played as a cooperative member of the community's scrutiny. Well, Councillor Lucas not here, so Councillor McCann, as chairman of the community's scrutiny committee, is there anything that you would like to add?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Lucas, the chair of the Community Scrutiny Committee, has asked me if I would say a few words on her behalf, as she couldn't make it this evening. And I'll start by sending our deepest sympathy to Wyn's family and friends. Wyn was a co-optee of the Community's Scrutiny Committee, a role he had held since 2021, when this was known as the Community's Select Committee. Wyn brought his knowledge, a new perspective and a voice from his role as chairman of our tenants and leaseholder panel. He also shared the knowledge he gained from his role as the vice chair of the National Association of Retained Housing Tenants Group. His input at Scrutiny was invaluable, and many of the members of Scrutiny worked closely with Wyn over the years and valued Wyn's opinion and contribution to the community's scrutiny. He helped shape many of our housing policies and the housing strategy, and he will be sadly missed. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah. Please, Councillor Murray.
Yeah, could I just be associated with those comments? I made my feelings known at the full council meeting, but I would like to be associated with that. And I'm sure others are, but just by way of information, myself and Councillor Rosebrooks do intend attending the funeral on the 18th of this month.
Thank you for that, and also thank you for those kind words as well to Councillor Lucas. So, members, are there any other matters arising or outstanding actions? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then I'll go on to item 7, which is public questions and requests to address the Overview and Scrutiny Committee.
No public questions, Chairman.
No public questions. So then we go on to the item type, which is, Stephen, we actually do have a call-in. So I would like to advise members that there has been a call-in on the Cabinet decision regarding the food and garden waste. This is in accordance with the provisions of section 100B, section 4, paragraph 4, I think, of the Local Government Act 1972, and I am content that to ensure constitutional deadlines are met, that the report be considered at this evening's meeting. The report is detailed in the supplementary agenda. Can I draw members' attention to paragraph 6 of the protocol attached as Appendix 3 on page 8 of the report in the supplementary agenda. And tonight we're going to follow that protocol. And now I'd just like to ask Barbara, can I ask you to outline the report at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee before I ask the lead signatory to speak? So thank you, Barbara. So we'll be following the protocol. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As the report's quite simple, members, and hopefully it's self-explanatory, the purpose of this meeting is that following a call-in of the Cabinet decision on the food and garden waste proposal, the members of this committee are meeting tonight, and there are two options. There are an either-or on the paper, and they are either that they do not ask Cabinet to reconsider the decision, or they refer the decision back to Cabinet for reconsideration. In my view, they are the only two options. The decision that Cabinet made, in my view, was in accordance with the budget and policy framework of the Council. That's the budget for 2025 to 6. So we haven't set the budget next year. And the decision of Cabinet is not contrary to the budget. So therefore, if the members are minded to ask that the decision be reconsidered, the appropriate forum for that would be Cabinet. You've got in the papers before you the report that went to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 10th of June, and subsequently on the 1st of July, the place Scrutiny scrutinise an additional report specifically on the proposed introduction of the annual garden waste subscription of £60 a fortnight. The report then went to Cabinet on the 21st of July. The Cabinet report contains a summary of the comments of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. They were in the report, and it should be noted that rather than setting a specific figure for the collection of garden waste, it said in the Cabinet report, the Cabinet determined that the exact sum should be considered by full council as part of the 26-27 budget setting proposals. As I've indicated, there's two options to the Scrutiny Committee. It's either not to ask to reconsider, or to ask them to reconsider. But the role of the Scrutiny Committee, it includes both developing and reviewing policy and holding the executive to the account. But a Scrutiny Committee, and it's an important point, it can't discharge executive functions or require the executive to make a certain decision. So while it can offer advice and recommendations to Cabinet, it can't responsibility for executive decisions remains the responsibility of the executive, and they can't be discharged or overturned by full council, in fact. So really that's more or less all I need to say. I would point out that, as I mentioned in the report, the members of Cabinet were present at the Overview Scrutiny Committee meeting on the 10th of June and at the Place Scrutiny Committee on the 1st of July. And I understand that they listened to the questions, debate and acknowledged the comments and views of the Scrutiny Committee, and that at the Cabinet meeting on the 21st of July, they heard further from councillors and their concerns were acknowledged. So really that's all we really need to say. It's whether this committee wants to ask Cabinet not to, it does not want Cabinet to reconsider, or it does want them to reconsider.
Yeah, thank you for that. It was very, very useful. And so now can I go to the Councillor Pond as the League signatory. Would you like to describe your concerns?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. On a point of order, I'm not restricted, am I, in speaking to this motion, to this call-in? In time?
Oh, you mean time? How long has it's been? No, there's no restriction.
No, that's what I thought. Thank you. Right. Well, first of all, I consider this decision of Cabinet well premature and unnecessary. EFDC is a waste collection authority. It is not a waste disposal authority, although our successors as a unitary probably will be. So the disposal of garden waste is down to ECC, Essex County Council, to pay for, and not EFDC. It's more expensive to pay for in-vessel composting of commingled food and garden waste. I quite understand that, but ECC pay for it, not us. Garden waste is generally open windrowed, in other words, left in heaps which are turned by machines. And I do recall being at a planning committee for the county council in which the appalling smells from the windrow site in Bobbingworth were discussed. This was about 6 months ago. The report says that ECC may compensate us for changing our arrangements, which I consider are totally unnecessary, but it doesn't say by how much. And it seems to me that we are discussing a decision made in the absence of the full compensation arrangements, which is very bad practice in my view. Why should we, I believe, put our residents to trouble and expense for the hope of titbits thrown out by ECC without any indication what they are? And of course I know that the leader of this council is also what Kevin Bentley, the leader of ECC, is pleased to call the Chancellor of Essex, and he has to have the job of balancing the ECC budget. But that is not a decision which is necessary for our residents to pay the price for. Food and garden waste, as at present, keeps our recycling rate reasonably high. And you may remember that when we adopted commingled garden and food waste collections, along with Rochford District in, I believe, 2011, although I might say it might have been 2012 when we adopted it, we were the two leading recycling authorities, waste collection authorities in the county. Now, as we all know, EFDC will die on the 31st of March 2028. The new unitary authority will be a waste disposal authority and a collection authority. My view, and that of my co-callers in, is let them, if they must, take this decision, not us now. That's why I say it is well premature. The report is disingenuous because it only deals with authorities in Essex. I know that is the net for the reorganisation, but we might look at Waltham Forest, for instance, which collects food and garden separately, but does not charge for the supply of a larger wheelie bin than we have. And I believe the same is in Redbridge, although they may be considering its future. The report is also deficient, in my view, in that it is totally silent on what will happen when the government insists, as they already are insisting, on the separate collection of card and paper recycling, rather than tipping it into your blue bin. Now, that, in my view, will just give residents an additional burden of another container to be specified by EFDC, of which we have no details. We know what size it will be, but we don't know what security it will be. So it is undesirable on those grounds also. The area of gardens in Epping Forest is very much exactly the number of dwellings, because most gardens, I think 84% of dwellings in Epping Forest have a garden. And their duties of their householders include the dealing with garden waste, which statutorily is housing waste. Now, the question of what is happening in Rochford. Rochford have been thrown a few tidbits by the county for the more effective disposal of the non-commingled waste. But Rochford have taken, I believe, the decision not to charge for the collection of garden waste. And I do not like the seeming insistence of EF that the garden waste collection, though it is to be reduced by half and for only 10 months of the year rather than 12, I take the view that if we get sufficient tidbits from ECC, it should be used if this awful system is adopted, then that it should be free or at a nominal sum for at least 2 years until the demise of EFDC. Now, my colleague, Councillor Wiskin, is going to speak to this item in a minute. The last thing I think I wanted to say, Ovian Scrutiny is in many ways the watchdog of the people and against unconsidered and unnecessary cabinet and cabinet member decisions. I know what is proposed will be very, very unpopular with a large number of our residents. And I would urge you to send this proposal back to Cabinet with a view that they should further deliberate on its content and timing. I think that's all I need to say, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Councillor Pond. Okay, yeah. And can I go now to Councillor Balcombe as portfolio holder? Would you like to respond, please, to that?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, let's go back a little bit. The Council is having to align with other authorities in Essex by separating food and garden waste collections. This change is part of a broader effort to standardise waste collection practice across Essex. As an authority, we don't have to collect garden waste, but food waste has to be collected weekly. The recommendation is a weekly food collection and a separate optional fortnightly garden waste collection by subscription. This has been discussed and recommended by various committees, including the Overview and Scrutiny Committee and the Place Scrutiny Committee. These committees have played a role in shaping the new waste collection strategy and recommending the £60 subscription charge for garden waste collection to be discussed at the 26-27 budget setting process, which everybody will have a chance to put their words in. You have the paperwork in front of you, and you will note that we have taken away points raised at this committee's, including concessions and a second bin, and answered them. Both James and myself are here to answer any questions, and also Councillor Whitbread about the financial situation. Thank you.
Thank you as well. So now can we go on to the other signatories of the notification shown on page 5 of the supplementary agenda. I know that Councillor Pond said that Councillor Wiskin, you wish to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I think there are several points which embellish what Councillor Pond has said. I think the levy alludes to excessive profits if it goes ahead, although those profits have been scaled down as some operational costs have been added in since previous proposals. The fee isn't guaranteed. It will be discussed at a budget meeting on top of, no doubt, a hefty council tax rise. So this is a council tax rise by the back door. I think very little has been given to the obvious, in my view, increase in fly tipping, which will occur on the back of this. Later on in our agenda, we will be examining papers which are already alluding to increased incidents of fly tipping outside of this. There's been no public consultation. No one in the street has been asked. The consumer of this service hasn't been asked what they think about it. I think there should have been some on that basis. There's also big concerns about the black bin usage or misuse. And I've been reading what should and shouldn't go in the black bin, which has been recently updated. And at the Place Committee meeting, it was made clear to us by, I think it was David Marsh, that there would be, the operatives would be effectively policing what's going in the bins. Frankly, I find that fairly humorous because I observe most of the operatives running after the machines to get the bins onto the back of the lorries in time, and I commend them for doing it. If we are to introduce the black police Stasi, as it looks like, to make sure that we have to get the right stuff in the right bin, surely we're going to have to increase staff, and maybe the rounds will take longer. There is an issue, of course, that this is a financial initiative, not a green initiative, as is made clear at the Cabinet meeting by Councillor Holly Whitbread. I think that also it is coming too fast on the heels of the change to the blue bins. It's hardly bedded in. We haven't even started to see the impact of the changes of that and the issues which is going to come forward. Apart from we've seen that notes of increased calls, again in a later item in this meeting, the increased calls for support have gone through the roof and are pushing the resources. And again, I agree with Councillor Pond, we should be waiting to see what comes out of local government reform and aligning with that once rather than twice. Thank you.
Just hold on a second. So can I give Councillor Balcom a chance to respond to that, please? And then yeah.
Okay. Basically, we haven't really got a choice. This is being forced upon us, and sooner or later, in the next 6 months, we are going to have to go down this and change over. If we don't, the cost of getting rid of the waste will be down to EFDC, because we will have to pay back Essex for its removal and getting rid of it. That's the first thing. Council tax through the back door? Is it really? I don't think so, because you're giving people the option, and that is the point. Contamination of the bins. I've got James online with me, and I'll let him talk you through that one, but there is a procedure. Are you there, James? We're talking about contamination.
Yeah, obviously we want to keep contamination to a minimum. There won't be operatives inspecting every bin. It's not going to be policed and that. There will be a degree of leniency. I know that there's been full council and other committee members about, well, what if we've got a bunch of flowers? Well, if they're put in the black bin, they're put in the black bin. If people haven't got a garden waste. It's been repeatedly said that, and I'll say it again, there is no evidence of increased in fly tipping wherever garden waste. Over 75% of the country, local authorities have got garden waste subscriptions, and it's not led to increased fly tipping.
Thank you for that. Can Councillor Holly Whitbread, would you like to reply to the...
Thank you, Chairman. If I could just come in on a couple of the more financial points raised. I will make the point, obviously, many of these arguments and conversations have been rehearsed and had in previous Cabinet and ONS meetings. And as I said in those meetings, I do have a lot of sympathy with the points raised. But when we look at budget papers, and there is an element of finance to this, but as Councillor Balcon quite rightly said, we are being driven and led by County Council on this agenda, and we are the last council in Essex to do this. But what I would say, I've said previously, I do have a lot of sympathy with the arguments. We do not like putting in new charges for residents. We previously looked at this as a potential income generation in previous years. That was previously pushed back. It wasn't something we wanted to introduce. There was a lot of pressure to look at this again, given the situation that we're in. Members will remember, and we'll see when we look at the upcoming report, we've got a potential £3.4 million gap in the finances for the next financial year. So if we don't find the money in this way, we're going to have to find it somewhere else, and that could mean really difficult decisions about the services we provide as a council, our council staff. So this is part of what is a very difficult suite of decisions that we are going to have to make around the budget. Councillor Balcom spoke very, very well on the environmental factors driving this and the pressure that we're having from county to initiate it. It should also be said, every council has done this, so I know there's been political points made in leaflets by some political parties, but Lib Dem Chelmsford and Lib Dem Colchester have all implemented this charge, and it seems to have gone into place relatively comfortably across the county elsewhere. As I said, it's something I would prefer not to have to do, but given the direction of travel being prescribed by county, the potential economic cost to us as a council to have to separate and then not charge, that's also worth considering and looking at. It's something that unfortunately we've got to the stage which we are going to have to look to implement. We have debated this twice at Cabinet and ONS. We're going to debate in more detail the shape of the charges as we get into the budget process itself. But I would say, and it is a reluctant, I would say, it's something that we just have to do in the current situation that we're in. Yes, it is right to say we're going to be going through local government reform and Epping Forest District Council won't exist in 2 years' time, but whatever unitary council we're part of, they will be doing this as well. So it's kind of setting the path for what's ahead. As I say, I know this is popular, and it takes no pleasure for me to have to stand here and defend this and argue for this, but we do have to look at the reality of what's in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And can I go now to Councillor Cohen? Yep.
Thank you. There's just a few points that I'm really not sure about. So it's going to be collections every 2 weeks, which include the food waste in the garden waste. So instead of the food waste being collected every week, it's going to be collected every 2 weeks. Is that correct? So the garden waste is meant to be with the food waste? No.
Yes, please.
Food waste will be collected weekly, garden waste will be fortnightly.
So we're getting a silver separate bin? Yeah. Another bin. Okay, thank you. Fly tipping in the forest. We are very fortunate to live, backing onto lots of forest lands, and more so than lots of other boroughs around. And I'm afraid of other people throwing their garden waste into the forest. I know you say fly tipping is not recognised in anywhere else, but we actually happen to have forests actually on our doorsteps. And the £60 for the garden waste, would that be a figure that could go up if debates, when you change the budget? I mean, is that going to be something that's going to be static for any period of time, or could that go up sort of next year? Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Councillor Balcom.
Let's come back on the £60 first of all. We haven't agreed £60 yet. As we've said, it's something to be discussed in the budget and what price we set for it. As for fly tipping, I think everybody in here knows my thoughts on fly tipping, having lived in a village which has had lots of problems with fly tipping and still is. They are having approximately 25 fly tips a week on country roads, blocking the whole road. So it is a problem, but it's not being caused by our residents. It's being brought in from out of the district. We know that. We also know that there has been some ongoing with Mandy Thompson on stopping these. There's been stops on the road with vehicles carrying waste, and there has been some prosecutions. So they are on top of that and starting to clamp down in conjunction with Essex. I'm just trying to remember what the last one you said. You asked me about the food bin. The food bin is a small container, not a full-size bin.
Okay, Councillor Cohen. So do you want to come back, Councillor Cohen, on that, or is it, you're happy with that? Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Now, what I'll do now is I'll open up the discussion to committee members, also other councillors. So I think Councillor Lyne, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of things that I wanted to make a point of. First of all, the council tax versus charges. What it means if we don't charge, then there'll be an implementation or implication for council tax. So instead of individuals paying for the service, everybody will pay for it in some way or other. And therefore, you've got to look at it from that point of view. The other thing is this is not a statutory service. Garden waste is not a statutory service. Therefore, it does not come under the necessary decisions that are made for statutory services. So it's okay if we say we're not going to collect garden waste, people will have to dispose of it themselves. How do they do that? Where do they do that? Yeah, there's a possibility of fly tipping. There's also a charge if you're going to make that into a commercial service, somebody's going to have to charge for that. So I'm not sure that that's a good way to go. And I'm not sure that those people that are interested in composting, and I compost all my garden waste, nothing or very little goes into the bin. And I think we should be encouraging people to compost more. It's much more efficient, and it really does go back onto the garden. So that's a really good thing. So the other question I had was the timing of this. So we're saying we're going to be introducing the separate bins because we have to. We're going to separate garden and food waste because we have to. But the charging won't come in immediately. So I'd like some clarity on the timings. When are we going to introduce the actual splitting of the bins, and when are we going to introduce the charge? Because we're saying the charge is going to be discussed under the sort of budget considerations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Vogt, would you like James to answer that, or do you want to answer?
James, if he wants to, yes.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of separating the collection of food and garden waste, ideally we would like to aim to introduce this in April, but then introducing a charge for garden waste is dependent on members agreeing to introduce a charge, agreeing a fee. Once we've got that, we can kind of work out how long is required to implement. At this stage, it's probably it's unlikely. Well, it's very highly unlikely it will be April next year if this is being if this goes as part of the budget discussions and that. So I think once we have a decision from there, it would be sometime through next year. So it would be if it does get approved, the garden waste subscription would be a part year fee. So we would have to pro rata it.
Yeah, please come back.
Just to come back on that, I mean, that's really useful. But just thinking about the charge, £50, £60, we're talking probably about £1 a week. And it's pretty good value, really. I'm not sure that that's really going to cause a problem. But considering what Councillor Whitbread said about the potential big black hole next year in the budget, there's going to be bigger issues that we're going to have to consider. So this is a minor issue that we need to resolve and move forward on. And then obviously the bigger issues are going to come down the track. And if we just add to those bigger issues, this is really going to be something that we are really going to perhaps regret at some point in the future. So I think we need to make a decision. We need to move forward. And I think it's however unpalatable it is, and it is unpalatable because we've not had to do it before, I think we do need to seriously consider actually making that decision. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Councillor Lyne, for that as well. Can I move now to Councillor George?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Like to say, Councillor Whitbread, yes, Lib Dems did put it in our paraphernalia because not many people know about this charge. So unless they watch the meetings or unless they look online or they speak to someone, they don't know that this charge is coming into effect. So yeah, we highlighted it in our focus going around to the public. Now, you said about overviewing scrutiny and you said about place scrutiny. Now, I did write an email to Barbara a few weeks back regarding conflict of interest with Councillor Lucas and whether she should have voted that evening. And I haven't had a reply back from you yet, Barbara. So my problem with that is that due to Councillor Lucas's involvement with TBS...
Sorry, Councillor, yes, fine. Can I just stop you there? And I think that Barbara will just answer that point that you made.
Okay, Barbara.
Yeah, I think I have written back to you. I'll check my sent box though, and if I haven't, or it's for any reason it's not gone, I'll resend it. But I don't think it's appropriate, Chairman, to be discussing individual members' conflicts of interest or not, as the case may be at this meeting. It's a matter for individual members to declare what they have.
Right.
That's not
I believe it is important, Barbara, because Councillor Lucas partook in that voting that evening. So because of my thoughts on it and my email to you, I haven't had a response back. But okay, I'll move on from that.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, I shall move on from that. Barbara, I'll wait for you to come back to me with an email, please.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
The next one is a £60 charge. Put it what it is. It's you put down as a surplus on page, and this time I will do and say page numbers, page 9, where there's a £21.52 surplus per household. Now, when you multiply that by the figures, and Owen, you put my figures in a nice little Excel sheet, and then put correct, incorrect. But I can see why you put incorrect because you're using 58,066, not the 400 I were using. Now, it is a profit, so why are you going to put surplus? Also, it's a savings. To whom? Who's the savings to? It's to the council. It's to EFTC and your budget. It's not to the residents. The residents are not benefiting from this. It was once free, granted. I understand the reasons why having to implement it, and I understand the reasons why having to charge it. But with the cost involved in having this service, you're going to recoup that back anyway with the charge. So already that's covered. So straight away you've got lots of money back in the kitty, plus the 200,000 that you're saving on the combination. So you're going to wipe that out. So my point being that £21.52 profit, not surplus, okay, you can use that word, surplus is a profit, it's too much money. And even though Councillor Lyons just said it's only £1 a week, okay, fine, it's £1 a week. But some people haven't got that money to find. They haven't got that money to spend. And it's a lot in one load. Now, I know you said as well, Councillor Whitbread, about for the finance, for the budget, and then the surplus will go towards that. But there's only, what, 8, 9 people in the Cabinet that have the purse strings on how the money's spent, where the money's spent. The rest of us, we can just go to committees like this and say yes or no. So we don't really, I can't see how we're in so much deficit, and each year we're in deficit. Last year we lost the police officers, we lost other bits and pieces. This year, what's it going to be? What are we going to lose?
Yeah,
So,
Councillor George, yeah.
what am I talking about?
So, I appreciate the points you're making, and, you know, we mustn't digress too much onto other issues. So,
what other issues?
Can I come into Councillor Whitbread, please?
Thank you. I think the point to be clear is we haven't decided the £60 charge. That's going to be part of the budget process. So, you know, talking about the £60 charge is theoretical, really. We haven't decided that will be the actual charge, and it will be discussed and considered as part of the budget process. It might be decided that might be lower. You know, that's going to be maybe higher, as Councillor Williamson just said. I mean, that's going to be part of the budget making process. Now, I would say members do have an opportunity to shape the budget. We go through various different scrutiny committees where we actually look line through line at the budget. And Epping Forest District Council isn't the only council in the country who has a difficult financial position. Actually, Epping Forest District Council is in a much better financial position than the majority of other councils in Essex and actually across the country, because we've been financially prudent for many years. But we do have challenges. We've got the various different cost pressures seen particularly since the pandemic with rising inflation. But what we have managed to do is protect most frontline services in Epping Forest. Remembering the police officers was something we did as an additional service that no other council in Essex did, no other council in the country did. And actually we're still doing a lot of things for £167 a year for the average Band D resident, and producing many things, going well above and beyond in terms of the services we provide within the local community, the brilliant work that Wendy's team does and Fab's team on economic development. So I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think it's going down a rabbit hole, and a rabbit hole that isn't right to say we're not providing good value for residents. And like every council, pretty much every council across the county, yes, we do have a deficit and we do have challenges, but that is because of largely some of the external challenges and pressures on services which councils face, and not to mention the decreasing grants from government, particularly this year when we're expected to be hit even more. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor George, do you want to come back on that one? Or, Okay, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Can I go now to Councillor Chana Holden? I think you'll be waiting to speak. I'm sorry, yes.
It's okay. It was on the surplus, actually, and I was just going to ask, in terms of the surplus, how is it possible to ring-fence that money slightly so that it's actually for the benefit of the residents, so they can see it being used for other things specifically, which I think would then sort of help residents understand, yes, there's a charge, yes, there's a little bit of surplus coming out of that they can be used for other things. Can we ring-fence that money to say, actually, that's something that we can use for weed control or whatever else it is that needs to be done in the area that's visible to residents?
Please come back. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor, for that point. I think it's a really good point. Obviously, in general, it will go into the budget pot, and having that money means that we can work to protect other services. So it's quite difficult to allocate it specifically to a service, but it will mean that we don't have to make cuts in other areas. £200,000 or whatever it might be is a significant cut elsewhere, so we'll be able to say at the time, I mean, when we actually look at the budget sheets, I don't want to talk about what potential savings there will be, but you'll be able to look and see, well, because we've done this, we've been able to save whatever other service it might be. I think the point that Councillor Lyon made around the fact that this is not a statutory service, this isn't something that we have to do, and actually perhaps it should have been something we've shouted about sooner, because most other councils across the UK actually pay this charge. And I think Councillor Matthews has made the point several times that if it is to be £60, if it's to be lower, that is actually quite good value for what residents are receiving through this service. But it's a bit difficult to specifically allocate it, but it will go to protecting other services, but that will be clearer through the budget process discussions as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Did you want to come back at all? Councillor Murray, can I go to you, please?
Chairman, I'll keep my remarks relatively short because I don't think I've got anything new to add, but I just wanted to say that I'm really pleased that my Loughton colleagues, all 5 of them, called this in for another look. A little bit disappointed they didn't ask me to sign, but I've got over that. They've done the necessary. They've done the necessary action. I think the reasons for the call-in are very clear, and I agree with those reasons. I think the points that have been made by particularly Councillor Pond, Councillor Wiskin and Councillor George are very telling. And I will just say, because I was a bit annoyed to hear it, I do realise that I represent one of the more socially deprived wards in Epping Forest, and I base that on the census indicators. I don't think we've had the new census indicators for the new wards, but I have looked at the polling districts. So I do represent one of the more socially deprived. Not everyone in the ward, because people don't live like that, but it is one of the more socially deprived wards. And I have to say £60 is a lot of money. For a councillor to sit here and say that, well, £60 is more or less nothing. Those weren't exactly the words, but that was the impression I heard. And I'm afraid for a lot of the families, not all the families, but for a lot of the families I represent, £60 is a considerable sum of money. So I will be supporting the call-in, and when we come to a vote, I will be asking that the Cabinet, we ask the Cabinet to look at this again. In fact, if you're looking for someone to move that, I don't know how it happens, if you're looking for someone to move that from the committee, I would move that we ask the Cabinet to reconsider this.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. And then if there are no other councillors... so Councillor Morgan, if you'd like to speak.
Sorry, you obviously didn't see my hand. Actually, I'd like to start off with a thank you. First of all, thank you to Ray, that has, over the past couple of weeks, had nothing but phone calls and emails from me. So thank you very much. Thank you to Barbara, who did come back to me about the same point that one of the other councillors highlighted. He did come back, so thank you very much. And a big thank you for James Warwick to actually sort it out. Poor Councillor Lee's bunch of flowers. She now knows she can put it in a black bin, so I'm pleased about that. So thank you for actually listening. So I'd like to start off with that. You said the £60 isn't set in stone. That I'm really concerned about, because to me that wasn't it could go down by the £21 odd that we heard about earlier, but it could go up by 20 odd pounds. Not this year, next year. Also, you're right, Councillor Whitbread did highlight the fact that we could have been charging for this since 2012, and we haven't, but we haven't highlighted it anywhere to any of the councils, like the parish or town councils, or to the residents. If we had, people wouldn't be so up in arms about this. But we do have issues with people dumping green waste. I highlighted this before. In Barnaby Way, in Chigwell, we have a brook, and we have people dumping their grass cuttings and their bunches of flowers. I'm sure they're not Councillor Lee's, but and they dump them in the brook, and we do have a big problem. and they don't pay for their green waste collections. They just don't want it in their bin because it's full. So the excess does get dumped. So we can't say it doesn't get dumped. I know firsthand it does, and we have to sort it out at parish. Also, remember, it's not just £60. We've also got the Christmas tree collection, the set voluntary donation, because EFDC will not collect that along with the green bin, which they do at the moment. So that's everything. That was my little rant for the evening. Thank you.
And then Councillor Hollywood, do you want to come back?
Thank you. Just in relation to the £60 charge, it should be said, obviously, we'd be trying to look to move that downwards. We understand that £60 is a lot of money to most people, and it will be challenging to a lot of people. I think as well, previously we highlighted ways that individuals could reduce that cost, perhaps sharing a bin with their neighbour, and concession schemes to support those who are on a lesser income. So we are very conscious. Sorry if that sounded in any way flippant. You know, we're always trying to keep tax as low as possible, and equally charges, making sure they're of good value and the lowest possible value as well. So I think when it comes to the budget discussions, I mean, in an ideal world, I'd want to see that come down. But obviously we've got very difficult decisions to make ahead of us. So please don't think that I was saying that in a flippant way. £60 is a lot of money to many people.
Thank you. Councillor Balcom, can you come back? Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for thank you. I agree with you that there could be a problem, as I said before, with fly tipping. Most of it comes from out of the authority, we know that. And you can always take it to the local dump free of charge. So there is another way there of getting rid of it. The other point I was going to say was I have spent since we started talking about this at Cabinet, and James will bear me up on this, going round with my little caddy, which we did have in here the other night, and the small caddy inside, and even the blue bag that's inside that. And I've been taking it to parish council meetings around the whole district, and people are in favour. Especially the rural sites, which quite surprised me because I thought they would want to compost. And that is the other thing I just wanted to bring up. We are looking at some form of compost scheme as well.
Thank you. Councillor Bond, I'll come to you with a summing up.
Well, it's not so much as summing up,
okay.
It's just to deal, subject to your agreement, Chairman, with the point which seemed to be made by Councillor Lyon when he said we have got to separate this material. That is not true, in my understanding. The government guidance to waste collection authorities issued just before Christmas makes a specific exemption for the collection of commingled food and garden waste.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Can I go to Councillor Matthews, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Listened this evening, and first off, I think it's a brilliant example of how useful this committee is of scrutiny. And as members have said, obviously the Cabinet is a small team. We debate and discuss and bring ideas forward, so it's nice that a wider group of councillors can then scrutinise that and bring all their thoughts to the table. I think it's really apparent, as Councillor Murray said, he's representing an area where they're facing a lot more financial challenges. I'd say I'd probably represent one of the areas that are probably much more of the affluent area in the district. So it's good that you've got both ends of the spectrum in the chamber this evening to be able to share views. So I will just share the views of some of my residents that I've spoken to about this, and that is very much that they see it as great value service. I think it's worth noting that there obviously, it's generic, but there is a correlation between sizes of gardens and values of properties and the amount of green waste being produced. So it is likely that there's going to be less green waste in those areas and more green waste in other areas. So that's something that I think everyone can agree on. So potentially that mitigates some of the issues around the charging. I personally, and as I say, speaking to residents within my ward, have all seen that at £60 as a very, very good value for money. If you was to look at privately paying a company to come and take your waste, you would be paying £60 a load, not £60 a year. So I think for the purpose of balance, it's very good to hear both sides of the coin. And I think it's also worth noting to all members, you know, without digressing too much, the country's facing enormous pressures, and the way things are continuing, those pressures are going to increase more and more for this council. You know, it's an old saying that I've learned the hard way numerous times myself personally, but, you know, you don't know how good things are until they're gone. That is going to ring very true over the next four years of the term of this government we currently have, in my opinion. And it's things exactly like this that, you know, perhaps we are guilty, and I've said this, perhaps we're guilty of actually not displaying and explaining what we've done well in the past. I think we've offered residents really good value for money on a lot of services, but not actually advertise that fact. So people assume that's just the norm, and it's only when you then step back, look at other areas within Essex, look at other areas around the country, you really go, oh, hang on a minute, all these other places are paying for it. Obviously, our duty here is to represent our residents in our area, so that's what we do need to focus on. But I'll just finish by saying, you know, I do see it as good value. I think it's going to happen. I completely disagree with the fact that it's a backdoor tax, because it's a service. You know, taxes are compulsory, a service is optional, and it's a service that is optional. So I repute that fully. And yeah, as I say, the residents I've spoken to have very positive feedback about it. So hopefully that provides members of this committee with the balance of the different areas we have within our district. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roy. So, I mean, I think... Councillor Lyon.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
I just wanted to pick up on what Councillor Pond said. I thought it was statutory, or it was a requirement to separate food and garden waste. He's saying it's not. Can we get some clarification from James on this one?
Yeah. James, would you like to come in there and clarify that?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Councillor Pond is correct. Those that the statutory requirement is to collect food waste weekly. There are a number of local authorities that currently don't do that, so they have to have weekly food waste collections in place by the 1st of April 2026. Those authorities like us that currently commingle can continue. The difficulty that we're facing is we will be the only Essex local authority commingling. So there is the potential that there is nowhere to dispose of that. I know Councillor Pond's made the point that that's not our issue, that's Essex County Council issue. Sadly, it doesn't quite work like that. Those costs, as a disposal authority, Essex are perfectly within their rights to pass on all of those costs or some of those costs to us. So that's why we're looking to separate.
Thank you, James, for that. And can I move to Councillor Will Kaufman, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to sound like the other one. I wasn't intending to speak, but I think the more I listen to this, I think we need to step back and have a bit of a think here, because I mean, the food caddy bin is about yay big, if I understand it correctly. Is that correct, Ray? It's about. And that's collected weekly, as I understand it. So in our household, we would fill that bin every day, quite easily. We would fill that every day, and I don't know how that's quite going to be sorted out, because it's going to end up in the black waste. That's for certain. And then to play a very small violin, within the current framework, we fill 2 green wheelie bins every week. So if we're going to be emptying them every fortnight, we're going to need 4 of them. So where's that going to take us? That's going to take us presumably to a point where, I can't believe, considering we've declared a climate emergency, people are going to be cutting down their gardens. They're going to be green astroturfing their gardens because they haven't got the capacity to fill these bins. And then that reaches the point, if we're charging £60 for 1 bin, say we did need 4 of them, is it going to be £60 times 4? Or, how does it work? I think it can go up, it can go down. I think the time is now to step back a little bit and just have a bit of a think.
Okay, thank you for that. James, would you like to come in, please? Your hand raised there.
Yeah, thank you. So it's difficult when someone with the size of a caddy with your hands, but I would say the size that you suggested, that's for the kitchen caddy, that would be inside the house. The food caddy that would be collected curbside is bigger and is 25 litres, so which is standard and used up and down the country. So it should be sufficient for weekly food collections. You've mentioned about climate change emergency. Yeah, one of the big drivers for waste across the country is we're trying to cut down on waste, not generate more waste. So one way to do, we don't want to be giving people loads of containers. It hasn't been determined how many garden waste bins, but what the report does say that looking at a concession for a second bin, many authorities limit the number of bins residents can have, so quite commonly it's capped at 2 or 3. Again, that is a decision for members to make, but I wouldn't want to be encouraging residents to have 4 garden waste bins, and that I think the collection rounds will be extremely slow if that was the case.
Okay, thank you, James. Can I come to Councillor Matthew? Then I think I would be looking to kind of wind things up and have some concluding comments from Councillor Pond. So I think I do need to be moving towards the end of the debate, if that's okay. Councillor Matthews, you want to go ahead?
Thank you, Chair. I won't make it too personal to Councillor Kaufman, but if he doesn't mind the example he used, I will respond to. I think it's an absolute prime example of why it's so important, and one of the things I've raised numerous times in Cabinet around encouraging composting. If you have a garden that you're producing 4 wheelie bins full of garden waste every 2 weeks, I would suggest you have enough space to put a compost bin somewhere in that garden, and you could start composting that. If you're also producing that amount, that volume of food waste, again, that can be composted and recycled. And as a council, we should really take a big step forward in encouraging this. I know there are schemes available to support through Essex County, I think it is, in terms of acquiring a composting bin, but this is something that I've stressed through all the discussions we've had at Cabinet regarding this charge, is how the emphasis on composting needs to be put forward, and I think that's just a really brilliant example there of why composting would help that particular situation. And obviously there's going to be some issues where you can't compost everything, but that is when the wheelie bin and the service will come into play. So I think we need to make sure those, as the discussions continue, those two things are linked together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Okay, so now to wind things up, can I go to Councillor Pond as the lead proposer? Would you like to just summarise a final comment?
Well, none of the comments I've heard from those who are in favour of this report has changed my mind of one iota. This will be highly unpopular. It will be resisted by large numbers of residents, and rightly so, because it is the introduction of a charge on the people where they have not had a charge in the past. It will not endear the administration or Epping Forest District Council in its last years to the people it represents. And that is why I think, I just repeat, that the committee should vote to send this back to Cabinet for further reconsideration, and perhaps for filling in some of the details that we're not treated to any analysis of. So I urge the committee, and if I can't second it, but if Councillor Murray is going to propose it, that it be referred back to the Cabinet.
Okay, so yeah, thank you. We've all expressed a wide range of views this evening, wide-ranging discussion. Now we need to... Certainly.
Sorry, Councillor Baldwin, I think in the protocol, the portfolio holder also has a right to final comments.
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me of that. Sorry. Councillor Balcom, would you like to have a final summing up?
I disagree, actually. I think this has been discussed widely through 2 committees, cabinets, executive meetings. We're not talking about a figure of £60. That is just out there at the moment. It was a figure that came from Place, I believe, originally. I basically think, as James said, if we don't do this now, the cost is going to be worse, because we know we are going to be charged for getting rid of the waste at the end of it next year by Essex. So I think we've got to look at this and be sensible about it. And if we don't do it this way, we're not doing the right thing for our residents.
Right, thank you. Right, so with those final words and summing up, I think that we can move to the vote. And Barbara, I think you've already summarised what the vote is about.
It's really,
Okay, so
it's really those in favour of not and those in favour of.
yeah.
Do nots first.
So we've got 2 recommendations in front of us, and then there's got the first recommendation, which is do not ask Cabinet to reconsider the decision.
So take a vote on that.
Yeah, so we'll take a vote on that first recommendation. Okay, so it's just...
Sorry, Chairman, I thought I'd made a proposal. So you need to ask if there's a seconder. I've proposed that we refer it back to Cabinet for further consideration.
Well, that is actually...
You can read them both out and then ask for vote one in turn.
Yeah, I think it's no... Yeah, we're just going to vote on 1 or 2. So I'll read out the second recommendation. And the second recommendation is to refer the decision back to the Cabinet for reconsideration. So that is... So that's, I think that's fairly clear, okay? Right, so can we have a vote then, please, on recommendation 1, which is that we do not ask Cabinet to reconsider the decision. So let's have a vote on that.
Nine in favour, Chairman.
Thank you. And the second one, can we have a vote on to refer the decision back to the Cabinet for reconsideration? So votes in favour of that one.
7, Chairman.
So recommendation 1 is passed.
Yeah, so recommendation 1 is passed, that we do not ask Cabinet to reconsider the decision. So that is what we voted on this evening, and that is the decision. Okay, the first recommendation. Okay, thank you for that wide-ranging discussion. Okay, so now, can we move on to the back to the substantive agenda, which is item 9, organisation performance, Q1 outturn, and priority projects update, pages 11 to 34. And so, Fabrizio, would you like to introduce the report, please?
Yep, certainly. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. So just a reminder, this is a 2-part report. The report has been published, so you should all have seen it. I will talk through each of the elements of the report, and then we'll ask questions at the end. And my colleagues are online should there be any further questions. So just a reminder, it's a 2-part report. The first part is about the key priority projects, so that's waste, leisure and the Broadway. And then the second part is about the key performance indicators. And what the report highlights is the key performance indicators that are reds and yellows have been taken out, and I will talk you through them in a moment. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so just going through these quickly. So first one is the reference number 4. It's a contact centre call answer rate. As you can see, that one's in red. There are the corrective actions there, but mainly the fact that they are in red has become from the increased call-out due to the blue bin rollout. Moving on, we have another customer contact point. This is in amber, and this is just slightly missed the target. And again, this factor here is, again, just missed slightly just because of the increased calls for the blue bin rollout. Moving down, we have complaints. Again, just an amber and a slightly missed slightly there. This has been missed due to stage 1 complaints going over the 10 days. There is work ongoing to correct that, and that's for ourselves as directors actually to work with our teams to make sure that actually all are answered within those 10 days. And if an answer cannot be given, at least we are responding to members of the public to say that there is an extension period, or that we'll be writing back to them. Moving on to number 7, this is complaints upheld by the Ombudsman. Again, we're slightly on amber, slightly on amber on that one. We're moving on to average rents. So this one is a red, as you can see there, the 47 days for an average let. It should be at 42 days. The actual letting is 38 days from ourselves as a district council, so we're actually working with colleagues in Qualis to identify what the issue is and why there are delays, and also to take into account in this that there are 2 properties that are structurally not sound within our portfolio, so that actually deviates a little bit the numbers. Moving on to...
Sorry, Chairman, are we having the officers' report and then going back, or do you want points as we reach what the officers mentioned? How are you dealing with it?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so we'll listen to the officer's report, and then we'll go back, and then you'll have opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so just going on to repairs, that is a Qualis, so that's slightly amber. We'll work with Qualis on that one. Major category planning applications, this is an amber, just a reminder to councillors in the committee that we are going for a PAS review, so that has slightly skewed the figures. Number 18, number of fly tips. So that's major applications, return on appeal again. We are going for a PAS. And then we're moving on to number of fly tips incidents. This is a red. Number of fly tips incidents has gone over the target. However, it has gone down since the last quarter. But this is it's a national issue, and it's not a KPI or a data set. We have seen a drop from quarter 4, as I mentioned, and there is lots of work being undertaken to reduce fly tips. By colleagues, and Mandy is on should we want to ask a question after, but we're doing a lot of work with the police and community safety team. And then finally, just moving on to total value of debts. Again, this is a red, but there is work undergoing around debts and recouping debts. It has gone down again from quarter 4. So we have slightly reduced that, but there is a piece of work there going on to ensure that we are recouping debts, and we've done an audit piece of work and there's an action plan going forwards to reduce that. So finally, just 2 other elements to look at, and that is I'll take this off, talk you through, and that is the changes to the KPIs. So there's a couple of changes to the key performance indicators. That is the business rates, relating to business rates. So there's a change down by 1% to the number of business rates collected. That's down from 98% to 97%. That's a national objective and national directive. The other one, days to process housing benefits claim, has gone down from 8 days to 7 days. And then finally, time taken to process benefits, new housing benefits claims, that's gone down from 18 days to 7 days due to great performance by the teams. And then just final point on the major projects. There has been a slight error in the rating of the Broadway project. That should be ragged as an amber. It was ragged as a green initially, but actually it's been scaled down just because of slight changes to overall budget and scope and plan, but the resourcing is green. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll open things up for questions. Or we can basically go back and then we can just go through the Councillor Murray. What's that?
Thank you, Chairman. Mine's on page 19. Obviously, I mean, I've looked at all of them, but obviously red is the one that you tend to scrutinise a little bit more. And mine is the average relet of properties. Target 42 isn't a particularly challenging target, I would think, for a lot of people. A 42-day turnaround is the minimum we should be aiming for, and we're told that we're hitting 47. It may have been touched a little bit on Fabrizio's reply, but I would like to interrogate it a little bit more, and I don't know whether we have got anyone from housing, Dawn Harrison on Teams tonight or not, because I can't read who's on Teams and who isn't. But 47 days, that's a big difference. Is that something we really have to worry about in terms of how we deal with voids per se, or is that figure being skewed by 2 or 3 just really difficult voids, which I do understand figures can be skewed. So how much is that an underlying issue that we have to have another look at how we're dealing with voids in general, or how much is that 47 skewed by just 2 or 3 very long-term voids?
Thank you for that. Fabrizio, would you like to come back on that, or Owen, something?
So feedback I've had is actually the voids do create an issue, and also there's a slight issue with the voids, but also in terms of actual days that we turn the property around ourselves and get it ready, we are at 38 days. Obviously then there's a delay between ourselves and Qualis and handing the keys, so we need to look at that. I'll also hand over to yourself if you wanted to add anything else in.
We are looking at that target and how that's pulled together, because it is being skewed by the ones that need major works. So look at separating those out to actually identify those, and the service is looking at how they can move those forward. So it is some of those long-term ones are skewing those figures.
Just to come back on that, I don't know whether there's any way we can do it, but I actually think obviously we want to know about those, but I actually think the average relet of, for want of a better word, normal voids would be something that we would like to know, and take those ones out that skew the figures. Those are 2 figures we really want to know: how many long-term voids there are, and how we're dealing with them, and then what is the average length of time for most voids.
Thank you for that. Do you want to come back, Owen, or Fabrizio?
I think that's fine. That's something the service is looking at, and they'll come back in future, some further breakdown detail.
Right, can I go now to Councillor Wiskin, please?
Thank you. About the fly tipping. In previous ONS meetings, I did ask a question about how we're working with Essex County Council regarding availability of our tips. It's quite blindingly obvious to me that when the refuse tips are closed 2 days a week, it would be beneficial to have them open 2 days extra a week, and maybe some of the fly tipping might go away. And also, looking down the road, as no doubt we will be getting charges for the green bins, that people who don't subscribe will have the opportunity to go to the tip every day and get rid of their green waste.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I have to take that question away, Councillor. It's not, unfortunately, an area of mine, but I can ask that. There's no one online who can cover that, so we'll take that away. Laura,
yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Fabrizio.
Unless Mandy has got... Sorry, Mandy, are you able to answer?
Yeah.
No, I was going to... Thank you, Chair. I was going to say exactly what you've just said. I'll take that away. We are bringing a report to place scrutiny in October, so we can work with Essex and hopefully have more of a detailed answer around that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I go to Councillor Lyon, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I agree. The county council tips should be open longer. That would encourage anybody to actually use them, and perhaps we should have longer hours as well. But that's a separate issue. The question I had, and I haven't seen it before, is this tolerance that's now been, I think, added, or has it always been there? I've not seen it before. Can you explain what the tolerance is and why it's included?
The tolerance, yeah.
Apologies, Councillor, I will have to take that away in terms of tolerance, unless we have any further...
I think it's just a measure to show when it needs to be drawn to attention because it's going beyond a reasonable level, because it will vary from target, and really to direct, to drill down and to make sure that corrective action has been put in place. That's really part of that RAG status development, really, as part of that target setting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lee, can I come to you, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I've got a question on this where the properties are taking so long to turn around. When you're saying about some of them got a lot of work to be done. Is that because the people moving out have wrecked them? And if it is, why aren't they charged for it, as they are in the forces? If you move out and you wreck anything, you're charged for it. Do we charge them if they've wrecked it? I'd like to know how many properties are wrecked when people move out, and how long does it take you to fix it?
Thank you.
I'm afraid I'm not sure. We'd have to come back to some details on that and how that works.
Yes, please, yeah.
Just last week, somebody, Monday night, decided to dump a big bag of rubbish in my front garden. So I was actually going out for the day, but I took a photo, I fiddled about, I got an address, which was in Enfield. I've reported it, I spoke to somebody. The bag of rubbish was there still another day, but it went, so I'm hoping whoever it was dumped it is fined for it, because my garden isn't for everyone to dump their rubbish in. So I just want you to know this is the sort of thing that the lovely residents we have now are doing, dumping rubbish anywhere in my front garden.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Lee. Yeah. Can I go to Councillor Joanna Holden, please? I think, did you have a question? I think you did, yeah. Yeah.
Apologies. On page 11, we say that the KPIs are strong. I disagree. I think when you've got 2/3 of your KPIs in red and amber, to say that they're strong is actually incorrect, and I think that should be amended. The second question is, if we are continuing to have waste collection issues all the way through possibly to April next year, and we have a KPI of 79% in the red, how are we going to ensure that our residents are able to actually get their queries answered in this coming period to make sure that they don't have additional anxiousness about the collections and questions go answered?
Thank you. Okay, so for Brett, would you like to come back?
Thank you. I'll pass that to our colleague, Tracy.
Right, okay.
Thank you for that question. Good evening. So in terms of the corrective measures for that, so we did see a significant increase with the blue bin rollout, to which we had a temp that finished just before where we thought we would need them. And in terms of the call volumes that came in, so I think the blue bin rolled out at the beginning of June, but we started to see the impact of that just before when the communication started to go out. So in terms of your question, how do we prepare for that in terms of as and when the food and garden separation roll out? So I'll be working closely with James and his team, and one of the proposals is that we do get additional support into the contact centre. We have to take lessons learnt from this blue bin project rollout and also understand that where people can serve online, we make those and make it clear online. Again, there are learns from how clear was the communication with some of the signposting on the website. So yeah, we will need additional capacity into the contact centre. Two of my team had great opportunities to go into other roles internally, and we did work with those services to extend that time as long as possible, but couldn't make it, 8 weeks. If they were to resign and leave the organisation, they go in 4 weeks. But we had a bit of a goodwill and we extended that as long as we could so we could still utilise their support. But thankfully we have one person who started already and we have another one due to start. The report does say 2, but I was gazumped. So I am back in the midst of recruitment, but brilliant question, and we are taking the lessons learnt to ensure that the appropriate capacity is put in. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Councillor Murray, if you'd like to come in.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't get the first question answered, which was about the KPIs being considered to be good rather than not so good, in my opinion.
Apologies, Councillor. I will take that back and I'll ask for that to be amended or discussed. Thank you.
No, Councillor Murray, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to check I'm understanding something. Apologise if I'm taking time, but it did initially worry me, but I think I now understand it. 18 on page 22, major applications overturned on appeal, and in Q1 we're being told it was 13.3%. I'm assuming that figure reflects decisions that were made under the old planning structure rather than the new planning structure, because the new planning structure, which I accept has only been in place since last May, was designed to prevent that. So would I be right in thinking that those major applications overturned on appeal, those decisions were made under the old system, planning system, rather than the current planning system?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Councillor Murray. I think we, can I bring in Nigel Richardson? Is that right? Did you want to respond?
Yeah, we'll do. Councillor Murray is exactly right. It's a reflection of the old system. The figures here reflect on planning decisions made about a year or two ago. So yeah, that is correct. So even though the appeal decisions might be made now, it is as a result of those made earlier. And it does reflect, actually, it might take a little while to get this off red, but with the new planning system that we have got, because we're seeing planning applications are not being overturned as frequently as they did under the old system, in time this will improve. But yeah, you're right, Councillor Murray.
As well, okay, thank you. I think Councillor Morgan, you've been waiting to come in as well. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is, page 20, item 13, is the households in temporary accommodation. It has increased, unfortunately, from 117 to 126, and it does say it's for the prevention of the measure of homelessness, or the measure of homeless prevention, sorry. But I can't see any figures for those supporting homelessness in our area, full stop. So those that are actually living on the streets. I can't see that on there. Maybe somebody can point me to it. And if we haven't got it, why haven't we got it? And why haven't we got any targets set for it? Because homeless prevention is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Yeah, I think Councillor Holly Whitbread would like to answer that. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Not my portfolio anymore, but in Councillor Scrutiny Patel's absence. So in terms of rough sleeping, we're fortunate in Epping Forest that the numbers are relatively low. I don't think we've got a housing officer on here this evening, but normally it's only about 1 or 2 rough sleepers actually on the street at any one time. I'm aware there may be some unidentified across the district and in various places. I mean, I know historically the forest has been a challenge, but in terms of identified rough sleepers, the numbers are relatively low, and we do keep that monitored. We work very closely with StreetLink, which identifies any rough sleepers and ensures they get the support available. You quite rightly highlight the increased use of temporary accommodation. That's actually one of our budget pressures, a huge budget pressure. We have seen an increase in people becoming homeless and needing temporary accommodation. This has got various different reasons behind it. Obviously, the current economy, the current challenges with the cost of living. We have done a lot of work in recent years in terms of homelessness prevention and trying to provide people with the support. And actually, it was one of the reasons I was very pleased we managed to maintain the Citizens' Advice grant last year, because CAB do really good work supporting people at risk of homelessness, but we do have additional officers within the council offices as well who provide people that support if that risk is there. It's a quirk of the budget that temporary accommodation is paid for, if not owned by us. If we have to use a hotel, it's paid for via the general fund, so it's a significant budget pressure. But there's just a slight different definition in terms of rough sleepers and then those who are officially homeless and requiring temporary accommodation. And obviously anyone in temporary accommodation, we always try to get them into permanent accommodation or more permanent accommodation as soon as possible as well, which goes back into our general housing stock. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. If there are no, yep, okay, yep, Councillor Charna Holden, yep, please. Yep. I tried. Yeah.
Apologies, I always forget the mic. Just one other question, sorry, on the attrition rate, which is at 14%. This is also quite high. It should be sort of under 10%, my understanding is, for public sector. So is there a concern there in the number of staff that are leaving? And should we be, as a council, be concerned in any way?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll hand that to Paula, who's online, who can answer.
Yep, thank you, Councillor.
concerns regarding the numbers that are leaving the organisation. We are doing an exercise to have a look at our targets to see across the board where they sit with others. So we will look at that. I did look at some targets or some stats from the CIPD and others, and they are around about 13% at the moment. But as I say, we are doing a bit more of a formal exercise of looking across benchmarks to have a look at our targets across all of our KPIs at the moment. But I will take that on board. But at the moment, there are no concerns within the organisation.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, can I just make one remark on that? Retention of staff is really important, and therefore I'm not making a light-hearted remark about that. But one retention that's going to worry me, because it's in the interest of Epping Forest, is how many of the councillors that we've got in this chamber, I don't just mean here tonight, will be on the new authority. I think a large number of us will not be seeking the election, and I think a large number of us might not be re-elected. And that does worry me, because we're going to be in a new, big authority, and I think Epping Forest is probably going to be represented by an awful lot of new councillors, which in some ways is good, but in other ways I think the retention of councillors going forward into the new authority will actually be quite important. But I'm calling the kettle, or the pot calling the kettle black, because I've got no intention of going forward.
Yeah, okay. No, thank you for your comments, there. That's noted. And you know, your concerns also, I'm sure the concerns of other councillors as well. Okay, so I think, do we have any other questions on the KPI? I think we've covered the KPI, haven't we, as well? And what about, do members have anything they wish to raise about the projects? I think by which we mean the priority projects. You did mention, didn't you, about the... Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So as mentioned, there are 4. They are reg rated on the report. I'm not going to go through them individually. They were there to be read. So, as mentioned, 2 are reg rated green. So that's waste and leisure, and the Broadway has been reg rated amber, just due to a few issues around budget and scope. But resourcing is green. So, if there's any questions, please feel free, councillors.
Yeah, Councillor Murray.
Yes, I'd just like to make 3 points on the Broadway refurbishment project, as it's a major project, and as I think I've explained before, one half of it is within the Roding ward and the other half is within the Fairmead ward. So strictly speaking, I'm only interested in half the project, but no, you look at the whole project, don't you? And I just want to make a couple of comments. I've seen lots of offices come and go over the years, and I just want to put on record again that I haven't seen one as dedicated to a project as Tunde is. Very dedicated to this project, doing a first-class job. If anything happens that's untoward, he uses teams to keep the ward councillors very much up to date and aware of what's happening. So I think it's been particularly well managed, and I just wanted to put that on record again. Again, I continue not to have a single inquiry from the residents on my part, and I would expect it on my half rather than the other half, because the other half don't have any communication from me, obviously, because they're not in my ward. But the other half of the Broadway have considerable communication from me, and I've not had a single issue or a single complaint raised. Traders occasionally come to me and other members, and those issues are dealt with very effectively. The only point I would make, and I doubt if there's anyone who can necessarily make the answer the point tonight. Obviously, we've got the RAG status as regards additional variations and costs, and costs are important, and yes, they do have to be controlled. And I'm pleased to read that savings are being achieved, but I do hope that they're not savings that you know, effectively influence the end result, because we're doing this. This is a once-in-a-generation project. You know, it won't happen for another 30 or 40 years. So I hope that they are savings that don't impact on the quality and the overall work that's achieved in the end, because that would be a false economy. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, and thank you, Councillor Murray, for that as well. Right, can I move on then to Councillor Wiskin? Did you want to say something?
Thank you, Chairman. I've got one question on each of two projects. Hopefully it'll be simple answers. On the Epping Leisure Centre, there's allusions to some issues with Epping Essex County Council Section 278 orders. Is this going to delay the project? That's the first question. Perhaps you can answer that straight away.
Thank you for that. Who could come back?
James Warwick, he'll answer that as Director.
Jen, sorry. Yeah. Oh, James.
Thank you. No, they won't delay the project. The issues with Essex County Council is in terms of 278 agreements, legal agreements for highway works have all been resolved, and everything is in place now. So we're confident that there will be no delays to the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And my second question is regarding the TVS. I recall from previous meetings that as part of the implementation, staff from the old team at Biffa were being bussed in from areas. Can I have clarity whether that is actually still occurring or not? Because I'm not sure we've ever had any feedback.
James.
Thank you. Yes, it is still a number of operatives are still being bussed in by minibus service. So I think there's a collection in Waltham Cross, Waltham Abbey, and Epping Station to take them to the airfield. But it significantly reduced the number that we were using. TVS were looking into staff using that service, making a contribution towards the cost. I'd have to come back to Councillor whether that is actually happening and that, but TVS are kind of paying for that service now.
Thank you, James. Okay. Yep. So, if we finish with questions regarding the priority projects, then we can move on to, are there any areas for review or recommendations to the Cabinet? Anyway, the last thing on agenda item 19, so we can move on to the recommendation. There's only one recommendation. Do I need to read that one out, the recommendation, or just... Yeah. Shall I read that? Okay. Recommendation. The committee reviews the 2025-26 Q1 performance outturn results and raises any areas for review and or any recommendations to Cabinet. So can we agree to that, please? Agreed. Thank you. Right, so now we turn to agenda item 10, which is the Budget Monitoring Report for 2024-2025, provisional outturn on pages 35. Okay, so I've got to go to that as well. Okay. And there are 5 recommendations to this one. But, okay, so, right, so I think, Owen, you're going to introduce the report, is that right?
Thank you, Chair. So this report updates the committee on the financial outturn for 2024-25, and it sets out positions for the General Fund, Housing Revenue Account, capital programmes and position on reserves. I'll just go through each section at a high level and then obviously pick up any questions members may have at the end. So the General Fund revenue position shows total underspend of just over £1.9 million. So that's £775,000 underspend on services and a number of variances that make that up that are detailed within the body of the report, and a funding surplus of just over £1.1 million that may relate to increased business rates income. What this does is add to the reserves position. So the council continues to hold the £4 million general contingency reserve, and total reserves for earmark purposes have increased to just under £8 million, and that includes £3.3 million in the transition and contingency reserve, which includes a budgeted £1.9 million contribution. And that reserve particularly enables the council to support its transition through the LGR process, but also providing financial resilience as the council seeks to address its budget deficit in the coming year. Addition on the HRA shows a revenue surplus of £3.6 million, and that is mainly due to slippage on the capital programme, which meant that £2.6 million revenue contribution to capital wasn't required, and there was less interest that was charged as the capital programme was less as less borrowing took place. On the capital programme side, on the general fund, there was an underspend of £24 million, which was due to slippage. A lot of that is around timing on the waste depot and the leisure centre. That is when payments were due to be made, and those resources will be carried forward to this year when the project's all complete. There's also less loans made to Qualis than originally anticipated, again due to slippage on the programmes, and there was an underspend on the ICT strategy, again as the council is now looking at what projects take forward in light of LGR and what's required and what might be put on hold. So that's an ongoing exercise. On the HRA capital programme, as I said earlier, there's an underspend of £32 million, and that was in two areas, major capital works of £17 million and housing developments. The slippage on capital works is really due to understanding the condition surveys and where to target that resource. And again, that will be taken forward into this year's resources to be spent on programmes that will be carried forward and added to the works in the future. I'm happy to pick up any questions members may have.
Thank you for your report. Thank you indeed. Okay. And, yep, I will go to... I'll try and get your name right. So it's Councillor...
Right. Holden's fine. It's fine.
Councillor Holden. Okay, sorry.
Let's just make it
I have
easy.
written it down here, actually. I didn't want to get it wrong. So, Councillor Holden, thank you.
With the investment projects and the slippages that are occurring, I know we haven't spent all the money, but because of the slippages, do we actually see that we're going to go into contingency as a result? Or do we think that we're going to still be on target to actually meet the budget? Sorry.
So the budget's assumed to still be on target, so that will be carried forward. And what we'll do, we'll bring back any overrun spends on the targets as part of quarter one. At this point in time, they're expected not to incur any additional expenditure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I go to then Councillor Wiskin, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask Owen, as a fresh set of eyes, perhaps he could give us a financial appraisal in a few words of the status of Qualis, given the turmoil we've observed with multiple directors going in and out, multiple loans from the council, shifting of assets from Qualis to the council. Could he give us some appraisal of his view of the status of Qualis?
The financial position of Qualis is quite challenging at the moment. Obviously, we're looking at the forecast going forward and what we think the return on the future schemes will be, and we'll come back to members with some more detail at the moment. But it's a challenging situation which we're working to manage as best we can at the moment.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. Councillor Matthews.
Just to excuse me, just to echo Owen's points there. Really, it's you know, I've members that have consistently come to cabinet meetings. Sorry. Will have got regular updates from me and explaining, you know, the challenges that Qualis are facing, the different entities within Qualis and those that are doing well and those that are struggling. So, yeah, it's difficult times, and Qualis is not immune from any of the issues many other developers around the country are facing. So we'll please do keep listening to my reports and reading the reports that come out, and we'll, as always, try and be as transparent as possible and make sure members are fully aware. Thank you.
I just have a question myself, just at that juncture. That I know it's on page 40 that the council has been providing loans to Qualis from internal sources without using the Public Works Loan Board, which I think is a very, very good thing. But I was a little bit surprised at this, that we could afford to provide loans from our own reserves. I mean, is that can we manage to do that?
So what we do, that's normal treasury practice. So we only borrow when we really need to. So if you've got excess cash, instead of borrowing from the market, we use that instead. So what it basically does is it saves us money, because obviously we don't pay the higher rate to borrow, we just sacrifice the rate we'd use to invest the money, so that makes a high return. And we do that wherever possible as part of our treasury management, as part of the capital programme.
Could I just ask this on supplementary, that have we increased our reserves because of the underspends? Because we have got quite a lot of underspends in the budget, and so has that enabled that?
Yes, the reserves have gone up. I think it was 11 point something million in total in the general fund. So that's gone up about £3 million from the position last year, which, as I said, that's part of a budgeted contribution to reserves and part of that underspend outlined a moment ago.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Owen. Thank you. And sorry, can I come to Councillor Lyon, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Just a simple question, really. Page 50, I may have missed this one. Underspend on contracts, partnerships and procurement. Could you say anything about that?
Page 50, procurement.
Yes, that's the funding for the control centre and the depot, and that's a timing issue. That relates to those two.
Yeah. Yeah, please. Sorry.
Thanks, Chairman. So question for so page 39, planning and development. Just a line here, income from planning and proceeds of Crime Act, 129k lower than budgeted. Could you just give a little bit more detail on that, please? So what contributes to that?
Is that page 39?
Page 39, yeah.
I think that is generally, there's two income lines that have been taken together there. So we have got a budget for proceeds of crime, which again can be sort of up and down depending on what occurs. And then planning income generally is lower than budgeted, which is due to the volume of plan applications coming through.
Yeah, thank you. I just think they're two quite fundamentally different things. I wonder if there'd be merit in splitting those out as two different lines.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think that, yeah, we can do that.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other questions at all on this one? Yeah. I have a question myself as well. So I just wondered about the contingency reserves. I just wondered, in the light of budget deficits and risk factors identified, should we be seeking to increase, well, you said before, the increasing reserves. I meant the contingencies. You know, I think of different budgets, we have a contingency, don't we? Is it 3 million contingency? We also have the reserve for the transformation programme as well. So, I don't know, I just wondered, because of risk, should we be increasing those reserves, or what's the policy on that? Yeah.
So we have increased the transition and contingency reserve, and there's a budgeted contribution to increase that as part of this year's budget. Obviously, what we'll do, we'll review the reserves policy as a part of the budget setting process here as well. But there is a contributed budgeted reserve topped up a little bit more as part of this year's budget.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Do any members of the Cabinet want to come back on so far, or do we have any other questions from the committee regarding the budget? My God. Okay, so if there are no more questions, or maybe comments from the Cabinet, I will go to the recommendations. There are 5 recommendations. There are 5 recommendations. Yeah, we'll take them all together. Shall I read them out? Or? No, I won't. I won't give people a brain hemorrhage by reading all those out now. So we'll take them. We'll take them all together. Okay, thank you. And so, can we agree those recommendations? Yeah. Agreed, thank you, okay. And that can be noted, yes, okay. Okay. Okay, so, good. Then, should we move on then to agenda item 11? I didn't expect to get through the budget quite so quickly as that one, so that's good, okay. So, are there any... we go on to the work programmes for the this committee, this ONS committee. Are there any comments about the work programme for ONS? I mean, there can be things like, if you'd like anything inserted into ONS or... Councillor Murray. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, Chairman. I know you probably used your terms loosely, but for the purpose of the webcast, the last item wasn't the budget. If it was the budget, we would have gone through it hour after hour.
Sorry, I mean, yeah.
The last was the provisional outturn of last financial year.
Yeah, sorry,
I can assure you we would have spent a lot of time on it if it was the budget.
Yeah, the quarter four outturn, yeah. Do you want to make any comments about the ONS, the work programme?
I do now, yeah. I was expecting to see, and I won't repeat the comments I made at full council about TFL, but unless I can't see it, where is TFL on this work programme? I thought they were coming to the main committee.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Right, if it's on place, I missed it, sorry. I'm being told it's on the place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you then. Sorry, Councillor Lyon.
Yeah, just on that TFL issue, what's the decision that's moved it to place? Because it was the last report was presented to ONS, and now we're sending it to place. Is there a reasoning for that?
Yeah, it's a good question, thank you. So, Laura, would you answer that one?
When the work programmes are aligned at the start of the year, it's about ensuring that there's some equity between the volumes at each. Obviously, the issues itself are very place orientated, and it was decided by the relevant chairman and vice chairman that it would be better suited to go to place rather than be squeezed into one of these long overview and scrutiny meetings.
Chairman, the only comment I would make about that, and I'm not being pedantic, but I made an important point at full council on this about getting the quality of representation. And if we are expecting TFL to provide us with the quality of representation, I don't believe they will, actually. I'm kind of the opinion that we're blowing in the wind, but I still think we need to do it. Then I think coming to our main scrutiny committee is the right way. We're sending I know all members can attend, but we're sending a rather odd message that we're not taking it in our main scrutiny committee rather than one of our smaller scrutiny committees. That's all. But I don't think it will make any difference. They're still going to send the tea makers.
Thank you for that. Can I just go to Councillor Parsons to defend himself on that one? Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's part of my report, so you'll hear it again in a minute. But at the moment, I know they're coming to place, but we've got no control over who TFL send, but we're hoping they send high representatives that can answer all of our questions better than before.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we very much hope that. And that's also been mentioned before, I think. Councillor Murray brought that up at the point, but we do sincerely hope that. And I know we don't have any control over that. So that's point taken, yeah. Councillor Lyon. So,
yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to emphasise that I did actually write to you and to Councillor Parsons today with some recommendations, just that we do get the right level of representation. And there's a couple of reports that I've included from the web relating to TFL, their refurbishment programme, where there's an FOI request that's actually put down the numbers of refurbished trains that are supposed to be in service. And also there was a very wide-ranging report given to the Institute of Mechanical Engineers in great detail. So the information is available, and we just need to make sure that we get the right representation, and I think we should make that representation at the highest level.
Yeah, I did receive an email from you, and I do remember you sent a link to the clip, is that right? Central Line Improvement Programme, which I watched that, but that is a good source of information for questions for TfL when they do come to the committee. Yeah. Okay, all good. So if you know... Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Barnard. Sorry, just about to move on there.
Sorry, just bring back the work programme. Qualis, do we have any more plans or any more information on when we might see some detail from them? Or
From Qualis. Yeah.
Councillor Barnard, there are some elements of Qualis in the work programmes and in some of the place and communities work programme. The chairman did write to you asking you what your specific requirements and your requests were. I think that was to come to me as well, and I am sorry I haven't received anything to this time. So if there is anything specific, all members are allowed to raise things.
Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chairman. And if I could just take the opportunity to say to members, obviously all cabinet members, all cabinet meetings members can attend and sit in, and I would, you know, we do the reports are there. I stand up and deliver them. Granted, I'll be the first to admit I haven't got the most entertaining voice to listen to for long periods, but if you need to go to sleep of an evening, you can catch up and turn it on and listen to my regular reports, because it'd be nice to know that someone's listening to them. So please do participate in that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'll certainly make note to tune in later tonight. Right. So now we can go to the report on the select committee business. Yeah. My vice chairman will stand in for Councillor Lucas. Unfortunately, is not able to attend this evening. So I think my vice chairman will substitute. If that's okay.
Thank you, Chair. So once again, Councillor Lucas has asked me to provide an update on her behalf. The Communities Scrutiny Committee met on the 24th of June, where we received an update on the health and wellbeing strategy, and a vast array of successful projects and initiatives were outlined. The full list of Community Champions activities was included in the members' bulletin. There is an extensive work programme this year, as you can see on page 67 of the agenda, and as suggested at an additional committee date of the 7th of October 2025 has been added, and the programme realigned to allow sufficient time for the scrutiny of the different housing policies. There is another item to add to the work programme. The parking policy for HRA will be scrutinised at the 16th of September meeting before going to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you. Now can I go to Councillor Parsons, please? Oh, I'm awfully sorry. It's okay, I jumped the gun there. Councillor Murray?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of points. I'm glad that it's recognised, and has been recognised earlier, that the original calendar that was presented to us at the full council meeting, when we looked at the calendar for this year, where it was only going to have 2 meetings at the Communities Scrutiny Committee, was changed pretty damn quick, because this clearly shows that was really not a very well considered proposal. But I still do have serious concerns about the 16th of September. Are we really going to be able to scrutinise the tenant satisfaction report? And I think I rarely choose to circulate all members, but I did circulate all members when I read that report late last week, because it wasn't pretty reading. So that's going to be a major item of scrutiny. We're then being asked at the same meeting to look at pet and animals policy, along with some other members, because we've shown an interest in this. We've looked at an earlier draft of that. There's going to be considerable tenant interest on that item. So that's another really major item. I would imagine housing domestic CCTV policy could be another really quite detailed and important part of scrutiny. And we're now being asked to look at the parking policy. Now, I don't quite know what that covers, but if it's parking policy on our housing estates, It's another really important issue, big issue that will impact people living in those areas going forward. So I actually think to ask us to scrutinise all those items on one meeting, bearing in mind essentially we had one item on the 24th. I hasten to add a very important item for Bitio and a very interesting item, but we essentially had one item on the 24th of June, and we're being asked to scrutinise all those really important housing policies that directly affect tenants and leaseholders' lives. I personally don't think we've got the balance right, but we are where we are, and I'm sure with Councillor Lucas's good chairmanship, but it's going to be a long meeting with those items. It's inevitable.
Okay, no, thank you for raising those points. Okay, so you didn't come back. Yeah, Councillor Parsons, can I come to you now, please?
Thanks, Chairman. So we had our first place meeting on the 1st of July, and our first item was looking at the garden and waste proposals, which was passed on from ONS in June. We looked in detail mainly at the costings this time, and after lots of debate and questions from members, the committee voted to put those through to Cabinet, but I mean, we've heard tonight that we're going to come back and look at the costs again, so that's still up for debate. We then had a second item on the rural regeneration reports. There was a lot of interest from members and questions looking at the plans for all these areas, and the committee recommended those reports to Cabinet and for publication. You'll see on the work programme we do have TfL coming on the 27th of January. It's good that they are coming back to the Council for scrutiny, but I know members have raised the concerns of hoping to have higher up people from TfL to attend, but out of our control, but we're hoping that we can get those people to that meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 14th of October. We've got updates from fly tipping and the blue bin rollout alongside TVS and Qualis attending. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Parsons. Do we have any questions to the Chairman of the committee? Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you. And both of these committees seem to have a full and varied work programme for this year. And I'd like to remind all members that they are welcome to attend, as Councillor Matthews has said, all of our scrutiny meetings. And, you know, that provides a good opportunity to discuss the details and a range of issues. These things they all feed into shaping the policy as recommendations go to Cabinet, as you know. So then we'll go on to item 13, which is Cabinet business. Right, members, are there any comments and queries on Cabinet business and on the forward plan? The forward plan is published and modified every month, but it's normally, is it for 3 months? I think it's the forward plan. Is that right?
Chairman, the forward plan's published every month, and it shows business for the forthcoming 3 months, although things only have to be on it for 28 days. It is published regularly, and I think members will get an automatic email detailing that publication.
Okay, then, yeah. So are there any comments or queries on Cabinet business? No? Councillor Murray?
Yes, I won't repeat what I've said at future meetings, at previous meetings, but it's just really wording from an officer's point of view. On page 73, I think most members, when we read the phrase exciting proposition, we're always a little bit sceptical when we read that. I'm not quite so sure that the integration of Epping Library and partners into the Epping Forest District Council civic offices would be described as an exciting proposition by all people. I think a lot of people would like the library to stay exactly where it is.
Thank you for that. I don't know if any Cabinet members want to come back on that at all. Yeah, Councillor.
Thank you. I mean, personally, I do think it's pretty exciting. It's a project that we've been pushing for some time, and actually will make the district council offices, or whatever this office becomes in the future, a real community hub. It'll be a much better space in terms of footfall. I think this is a really suitable location with advantages for both Essex County Council and Epping Forest District Council, but most importantly for the wider community. I do take your point that exciting is probably more for a leaflet than a council document, so perhaps we could temper the language slightly, but as an Epping councillor, it's certainly something I'm excited about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Whitbread. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. So, okay. Right now, I think we go on to item 14, which is exclusion of public and press. Okay. And members, we have an exempt report, item 15. Oh, sorry, item 15 and not 14 on the agenda. I'd like to ask members to consider the exclusion of the public and press as detailed on page 4 of the agenda. Do members agree to the exclusion? Yep. Thank you for that. All right, so